Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge and Relationships Live Talk. This is your boy M3, and I have a very special guest, as always, that what we have in our live talks. But this one's going to be definitely very special because we're going to be diving into, I'll just say, the facial department. So let me go ahead and I'm going to introduce my guest, Miss Zeltzin.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing, Zeltzin?
I'm doing good, and you, Mario?
I'm doing pretty good, and I'm glad that you are here. And just want to say thank you for allowing me to give you this interview for today. So definitely welcome to Knowledge and Relationships Live Talk, and we're just gonna be having some good fun.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And so before we begin, Seltzin,
Mhm.
um, I'm gonna give a shout outs to the people who are already in the chat and who has already commented. So I gotta give a shout outs to K Marion, known as Mrs. M3. Thank you. She says, welcome to hashtag Knowledge and Relationships on YouTube. Today we are live with Zeltzin, student esthetician. Please like, tap the thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel to be on the show as well. Okay. Also, because you have to subscribe, and the subscribing is free on YouTube. If you like to place a comment to give Miss Zeltzin your support. She also says, thank you for staying after the show to type a comment to support for Zeltzin on the replay channel. We hope you learn a lot because that helps build the algorithm up as well too. Okay. And she says, Mr. Empty, which is me, we appreciate you for sharing your space and allow Zeltzin on this platform to get exposure and share tips. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and just dive into this, okay? Now, Zeltzin, I'm going to ask you like the first question, and the most important question, if I could pull it up real quickly. The first and more important question is, can you please tell us about yourself?
Well, my name is Zeltzin. I am currently a student at Paris Beauty College, and I am working on my esthetician's license, and I'm a little over halfway done with the program. I do also have my degree in liberal studies that I got, but I honestly am really into the whole skincare world, so I kind of wanted to just switch over really quick.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, that's like my favorite thing to do is like makeup and skincare, making people feel really beautiful and comfortable with themselves. So that's why I'm kind of going into that field now.
Okay. So let me ask you this. For the ones who probably don't know, right? Because I know you mentioned like beauty skincare. That's a part of being an esthetician. If people was
Yes.
like, "Oh, what's an esthetician means?" You know?
That is pretty much the basics of it is but there's a lot more that goes into being an esthetician. There
Okay.
is skincare, there's makeup, there's waxing.
Okay.
People that do lash extensions are estheticians. They have to have an esthetician license. People that do brow laminations. There's
Mm.
even electrical facials as well that involve electrical machines. And that's
Oh.
like a whole other field on its own as well. So there
Okay.
is a lot that goes into it. Even body treatments. So I one thing that we do a lot of is back treatments with the hot stones and a massage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into the field of aesthetics. It's think of it like this. They call us the skincare doctors, pretty much, or the skincare specialists for the most part. But there's a lot that goes into it than just skincare.
Wow. Okay. So we're gonna be diving real deeply on that part.
Yes.
Um. So basically, like, okay, because when I was looking up what is an esthetician, because I had to like really do the research for myself, and what I found out was there was there's two types of estheticians, but one of them is spelled with an A in front of it,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that was spelled in front of an A, like that one like applied more into like the medical part of it. Have you
Not necessarily,
Hmm.
because we kind of talked about that a little bit as I've been in my program. To my knowledge, it's just like a spelling difference, kind of like the difference between gray with an E and gray with an A. There's not a
Yeah.
difference, but as
Hmm.
far as estheticians, at least in California, we have nothing to do with the medical part of it.
Yeah.
There's not a thing called a medical esthetician, really. That would be a completely different field. There are
Okay.
certain things under the law that we are not allowed to do that would require a medical license. So there is something called a chemical peel where you use a chemical on your skin and it'll peel your skin and it helps with the anti-aging process, but we have a limit on how strong we can use it. So there's some that we can use as estheticians,
Hmm.
and if you go higher than the limit, then you need an actual medical license. You need to be a doctor to perform some of those chemical peels.
Okay. Okay. I see what you mean.
Hmm.
Um, and I gotta give a salute to the real serious B. Thank you, Lola, for tuning in. Get my sound bits. So salutes to you. All right. All right. All right. Um, the other question before I get deep into this, okay? Because I know we're gonna be having a good discussion about this. Um, outside of like the field that you're passionate about that you're going into, what are some of your hobbies?
Honestly, I love to watch movies. Like, I'm always looking for a new movie to watch. I have a movie collection at home. I have maybe like 60, 70 movies that I like to watch
Okay.
or that I have bought on DVD. So I like to do that. I like to go hiking, but specifically near the water just because it feels more calming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. There's not a lot that I really do. I mostly just kind of keep to myself for the most part. And I like to go out with my friends every now and then to like new places to eat. That's probably another thing I like to do is finding new restaurants to eat at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's what's up. Like movies, hiking, and then just enjoying quality time, like at certain restaurants with friends or
Hmm.
family as well too.
Yes.
Okay. Um, like in your leisure times, like with hiking, for instance, like do you hike a lot?
No, not right now. Because I'm in school and I also work. I just don't
Mhm.
have the time right now, and especially with the winter months getting colder, not definitely not the best time to hike anywhere, especially near
Mhm.
the water.
Yeah.
In where we are in our area, it just gets super cold. It's been really cold. Even now, I was just outside and it was freezing.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. All right. Well, going back, right? Because I know you said you went to and correct me if I'm wrong. You said something about like liberal. Was it liberal science degree for a second, or
I
liberal
have my liberal arts degree.
liberal arts degree?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at that time, right before being an esthetician was like your passion. Okay, when you was going to school and you had got your liberal arts degree, what was the major prior to it?
So that is actually the major. I majored in liberal studies with a
Hmm.
minor in history, but what I got it for is I wanted to teach high school history. So originally I wanted to be a teacher.
Hmm.
Um I just liked the being able to help kids part. I also loved the schedule that teachers are on because you get, holidays off and all that.
Yeah.
And right now my job is teaching. I'm just teaching in a preschool.
Okay.
Completely different than working with high schoolers though. It's still nice. I like the kids. I've connected with the kids and it was good. It's not what I really wanted to do. Like it's not something I was like passionate about. Like I enjoyed it, but I wasn't passionate about it.
Right. Okay. And K Mary, I'm gonna get to your question in just a second. I do have a follow-up question for Zeltzin, and then after that, I'll get to it. Um, okay. Now, once you become like an esthetician, which I think that you have to kind of get your license or
Hmm.
degree. Once you kind of become certified esthetician, are you looking forward to become like a teacher of esthetician? Or am I saying it right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be against being an esthetician instructor. It would be interesting. I'm mostly looking to become a freelance makeup artist.
Okay.
Recently, I had the opportunity to help a professional photographer in San Francisco. She was doing a fundraiser for Ukrainian relief,
Mm-hmm.
and she asked me through a mutual friend to be the makeup artist at her photo shoot.
Yeah.
And it's not something I had done before. I have done makeup on brides, bridesmaids, special events, but this was a completely different vibe, and I kind of liked that way more. So the makeup world is honestly what I'm mostly focused on. And you don't need a license to do makeup in California. I just want to have it just in case anything happens, and it's kind of like it kind of covers that because makeup is
Yeah.
part of the esthetician umbrella. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now I want to get to K Mary's question. She says, "Okay, dermatology equals medical degree path." So I think that was the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So dermatology is a medical degree path. As estheticians, we're not allowed to diagnose like anything. We can give treatments to help the
Hmm.
skin feel better, but we're not like if let's say as an example someone has an acne condition, we're not allowed to say this is what you have and diagnose it. We can say, oh, it looks like you might just need this type of facial and let's see how it works. Or we would have to say, if you're really concerned, then you'd have to go see a doctor because we're not allowed to diagnose anything. We're just allowed to work on skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then she also says, "I love like your journey to your field."
Thank you so much. Yes, it's been a long journey, but we're getting there.
Okay. And then also, um, what inspired you to even? I don't think I even actually yet. Yeah, what inspired you um to go for that field as an esthetician?
Um, so I've been doing makeup for at least on myself for at least since I was 18, so maybe like 8, 9 years ago almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started liking it. Like it just something that kind of like steamrolled, like it just kept going, like I just kept getting into different parts of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then recently I worked at Sephora for almost a year, and there was just something about like being able to help clients find, like skincare that helped them with any skin concern they had, and they would come back and say, oh my god, thank you, like I feel so much better about my skin, like I feel so much more confident. And not that beauty is like the most important part, like beauty is subjective, everybody has a different opinion on it, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
like seeing people feel more confident in themselves and feeling like wow, like someone listened to this concern that I had and was able to help me and find something that worked. And the same thing with makeup, like there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole even issue in the makeup world too, with it not being super inclusive, so helping people that felt excluded find something that worked for them is what I really felt more passionate about. Which
Yeah.
again, it's I feel like it's a weird way, but I feel like it's a really important way that people don't think helps people in like really small ways on a daily basis. Like even for me, makeup is a way that helps me with when I feel really anxious. Because it's the same steps all the time. So it's like, oh, it's something that helps me calm down because I know what I'm doing. It's very like, okay, I know how to get from step A to step B to step C. So with that, it's also what made me feel really passionate about it. And just it's so creative. There's so much you can do in this field. There's not really like you have to stay in one box. You can explore so many different fields within being an esthetician.
Okay, that's good. Like you're able to like branch out and do like different type of things, and yeah, and I understand like it's not just like beauty is just like everything,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more of like I'll say more like kind of feeling confident in your own skin, you
Yes,
know.
exactly.
So if you have like an example, if a person have I guess maybe like acne problems or
Mm-hmm.
little spots that is not easily removed, because you did mention that there's so many different technicals to like really like, I guess to I don't know how to say the right word. I'm not trying to say fix the face, but to kind of remove certain parts on one of the parts of the skin, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things he mentioned was like, there's electric machines that can kind of help like, with the facial features. So like in that type of like, action, like I think it's more beneficial to make sure that, hey, you could just walk out and feeling great about yourself, because maybe that one little spot, and it could be a problem like shingles, or it could have just been just terrible acne problem. And sometimes people could feel so insecure about themselves because they look at more like a weakness. But now like you're able to kind of like bring the beauty out of it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And also, I want to give a shout out to iPro Gamer. Thank you for tuning in. Says, what up, Young 3? What up, back to you? So, during your time of school, do you remember like your first hands-on practice?
Yes, it was a facial. We were learning how to do a European facial. And it was honestly a little intimidating because it's like, oh, like, are we doing the steps right? Are we using the right products? And once I got the hang of it, I kind of realized it's like your everyday skincare routine with a massage on the face. And it's just to help you relax, really. And all facials are different. Everyone does a facial differently. Like, not even like school-based or company-based. Like, every single individual esthetician will do a facial differently. Just because, certain things work different for everybody, depending on like the hand movement they feel more comfortable with, or the client they're working with. Like, it's always going to be different. Like, no one's ever going to give you the same facial, just depending on the person. But it was really fun. Like, facials are not the thing that I'm super involved in, and I know how to do them. It's not my favorite, but there's so much that you can do with them, and that's kind of like where all the treatments come in. So people that are needing help with skin, whether it's with like acne or anti-aging or brightening the skin or hyperpigmentation, that's kind of where those treatments come in to be able to correct that issue that people are seeing in their skin, which was actually really cool, because I was like, oh, like you have to be consistent with them. You can't just come once or twice a year and hope it goes away. You have to be there consistently depending on the treatment you're doing.
Okay. Now, because you said facial, the face is not like, what you're fond of, like the facial aspects, what are your most favorite?
Well, as I mentioned, makeup is definitely my favorite, but now that I'm in school, I've really gotten into waxing. There's just something really satisfactory about the whole waxing process. It's very straightforward, very easy. You just apply the wax and take it off, and it's like a very easy, like maybe 20-30 minute treatment depending on what part of the body you're waxing. And it's way more comfortable than having to shave. Even like people that shave the arms or the legs, like it's much more comfortable. It's a lot more, it's better for your skin, I will say that. And then the other one that I've really liked is maybe brow and eyelash lamination, which is basically a perm for your eyebrows and your lashes.
Okay. All right. Because, in my mind still, like, whenever, like, I hear people talk about, like, the type of field, I keep thinking, I think I'm too focused more on the facial aspects. And then I'm starting to kind of, like, realize, like, oh, you know what? No, there's more to it than just the face.
Yeah.
Like, when you mention pigmentation, I'm like, yeah, like, you don't have to just solely focus on, the facial parts, but, the arms or the legs or whatever that you see that's fit.
Yeah, exactly.
The same thing with makeup. A lot of us, like including myself, keep focused too much. Like, oh, well, okay, she likes, like the makeup around the face or whatever, but makeup could just be makeup on any part of the body that you just find that, hey, this is what this certain part of the body needs. You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, waxes in an eyebrow, like, sorry, the eyebrows, and then you said the eyelashes, right? You
Yes.
said so. There's an eyelash serum that will make your eyelashes grow longer.
There is those that's more of skincare, but what I like with lashes and
Okay.
eyebrows is it's called lamination. And then for the lashes, it's a brow lit or a lash lift. So you basically do like how people do perms in their hair to make
Mm-hmm.
it super curly. You kind
Yeah.
of do the same thing with eyebrows or lashes. So lashes, you would perm them to make them curlier.
Oh.
Um, and for the eyebrows, like if you tend to have eyebrow hair that's a little more coarse or a little more hard to manage, because like for people that do their eyebrows, we sometimes have
Mm-hmm.
to comb through it. Like we want a specific shape or whatever in the eyebrow, and sometimes it's really hard to get that with just like hair gel.
Mm-hmm.
So people will kind of relax the eyebrow hair through a treatment. It's like a 30-minute treatment, and it'll keep your brows in place for up to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how well you take care of them
Yeah.
and how much you follow the aftercare instructions.
Mm.
But that's the other treatments that I've kind of been having a lot of fun with too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's a lot to really like to do. Like now I'm understanding that it's well, I'm not saying like it's not simple, but it's more to it than just like, okay, you're doing makeup or you're reconstructing something or you're
Mm-hmm.
adding, you know what I mean? Like you have to,
Yeah,
like you literally have to go to school so you can know what you're doing.
exactly.
Hmm. I gotta give a couple of shout outs to B-Eazy Dat Dude. Shout out for B-Eazy from Easily Red. He says fire 100%. And then Bruiser, shout outs to you too. Thank you for tuning in, brother. And then, okay, B-Eazy does have a question. He says, how many men do you work on? And he says, he says, I need a facial exfoliation.
Honestly, not a lot of men come by to get any treatments. Which is it kind of makes sense. I feel like that's where the skincare beauty industry has kind of failed
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. They tend to target just women, but the way I tell people about skincare, like you don't have to get into makeup, but the
Mm-hmm.
skincare at least it's kind of like one of the biggest concerns with skincare is sun damage. And, women are always trying to fix,
Wow.
sunspots or like
Mm-hmm.
fine lines and wrinkles. And a lot of that has to do with sun damage and using like sunscreen. Um, and again, that's mostly targeted towards women, but it's not targeted towards men. But as an example, and it's a little extreme, but it's like if you get skin cancer, it's not going to matter if you're a man or a woman. You're
Yeah.
not taking care of your skin. So not a lot of men get any form of facial treatment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it is something that I think should be a little more geared towards people like in general, regardless of gender or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because again, it's your health. At the end of the day, everybody should be taking care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's yeah. But the few men that we do get, they do get really specific. They mostly focus on exfoliation, um, just because the skin for men is a little tougher than the skin for women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they mostly focus on exfoliation. And if you're just looking for like a simple facial, it's something we recommend maybe like once a month to do, just to kind of upkeep the like just to upkeep the skin.
Okay, okay. Um, Be Easy says like failed a little, they failed enormously.
Yes.
And he says men need skincare too, but they think it's only for women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna touch up on that part because and I will get to Katrina comment in a minute. Um I think the thing is in society, they really I don't know, it's something about like when it comes to just treating yourself. Like an example, um, a pedicure or manicure. society would probably make it seem like, oh, like you're being girly or flamboyant as a man because you're actually trying to take care of your nails or you're trying to take care of your toes or whatever. Especially for the ones, God forbid, like you shave your eyebrows to like get into a certain arch. Now they look at you like in a certain type of way, like a pretty boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think the stigma is that men are supposed to not only act rough, but also to look rough as well. But women also, according to like the ones who I've talked to, and the ones that express like their desires like online, they desire a man, right, to take care of their nails, to take care of like their toenails and all. Like they look at the first thing they look at, in my opinion, they look at the feet if they're able to, or the shoes that they wear, or if they can't really see like too much of the nails down to the bottom, they'll look at the fingernails. And if your fingernails is not clean, then they're gonna actually secretly judge you and write you off for that.
Yeah, so that's again, I think, yeah, like you said, it is something that's really important because it is like again, it's like with medicine. Like medicine is not geared towards one or the other. It's like you have this disease, you have to take this medicine because that's going to help you, and again, like in skincare, we have just completely failed. And even like with makeup, like actors wear makeup to look better on camera. It's not because, they're like, oh, I'm trying to be more feminine or anything, but it's like camera distorts the face. You have to kind of bring that out because there's so much light. You have to bring back that dimension. It's, and with skincare, yeah, it's just like, I think women do desire for men to be like taking care of themselves as well, and I feel like that's a little just unbalanced in general. Like, why does one have to take care of themselves more than the other when it should just be equal? Like, everyone should be taking care of themselves, and it just makes you feel good inside, like, wow, I did something for myself. Like, how often do we say like, I did something for myself to take care of me? A lot of times it's like, oh, we buy ourselves like clothes or like shoes, or maybe invest in like a really nice purse or a car, but it's like, and that's fine, that's but to me that's very superficial. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, what about you, like physically? What did you do to take care of yourself physically? So I think with that too, that's where it's a little more skewed as well.
No, I definitely agree. Let me read this comment from Marion. She says, up and coming student esthetician Zeltzin, please help her gain exposure for clients in NorCal. Try Delta for skin treatments, not just for facials, but includes waxing, brow, and eyelash lamination, straightening and lightening. And I guess she posts like a link of a clip. But also, please like and subscribe to Knowledge and Relationships on YouTube. So thank you so much, Marion. And so, B-Eazy Dat Dude says, yes, if a man gets a mani-pedi, he is considered, LGBTQ. But what's the alternative to have some dirty nails with oily skin? It's just there on Facebook. Thank you. So that was also his comment, like into it, because yeah, people will look at men in a certain type of way, but to be honest with you, like when you practice the art of self-care, I think it will actually build a man's confidence level up. I think it would build anyone's confidence level up. You could go outside and you're like, dang, got my nails clean. I got, I'm well shaved. My face is glowing. It makes you, I feel like it will make people a lot more happier as opposed to like always thinking of the norm.
I think so too, because I think it just makes, like you said, it makes you feel more confident about yourself. But then I feel like as well, you can pass that on to like other people. Like, hey, this is what I did for me. Let's try it for you, and I feel like you just carry yourself a little different as well when you're more confident in yourself. So it's like, why not take that extra step? Why not get that mani, that pedi, that facial? Why not get your eyebrows done? Why not do these things for yourself? And then it's like, I almost think of it like, fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like it'll help you feel better, even if you feel like life is not on your side. By doing those little things, I always feel like, you know what, life might not be on my side, but I feel good about me, and I feel that inner confidence. So even though life is not on my side, I can still accomplish those things because I feel good about myself.
Absolutely. All right. So I do have. So my next question is, now, what was your positive and negative experience during your time of schooling and hands-on experience?
I think the positive experiences I've had is, one, I've definitely made some really good friends at school. And we're all willing to, like, you know, help each other, be each other's models, like people we practice on. We do take clients as well, but sometimes it slows down. So, you know, it's like, hey, you know, I need help with this, and I know that you're really good at this. So there's a really good support system, for at least for me in my school. Even the instructors, like, if you don't know how to do something, they'll be like, okay, let me help you. Let me show you how to do that. Let me, you know, walk you through it. Let me stand with you while you're doing the process, and we can work through it together so you know how to do it. And just, you know, the amount of knowledge that I've been getting in being in school, like, that's also been really positive, just because since it's something I truly enjoy, I feel like, oh wow, like, we can keep learning. Like, the learning is never going to stop, really, as long as I'm in this field. On the other hand, the negative experiences I've had, I feel like with that, since it is esthetician school, and as being an esthetician is mostly a women-led field, there can be a lot of drama, which is like the part that sucks. And I experienced that even working at Sephora, just because, again, mostly working with women. So it can get a little crazy sometimes, but it's manageable. It's just, you know, I feel like what I've learned is, just keep to yourself. Like, don't worry about the drama. Just keep focusing on school and what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, I'm just there to get the license. Like, yeah, I've made some friends, but it's, you know, like, it's just for a little bit.
Okay. You know, because I was just going to ask you, in your schooling, you know, were there, like, you know, kind of like mostly women, or were there some men that was actually going to that field? But since you kind of already answered that was mostly women, and yeah, of course, it's going to be a lot of drama when there's a lot of estrogen. As the same thing, if there's a lot of testosterone in men, you know, our levels will tend to get high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. With and you don't have to, like, be like really super specific, or, you know, we don't name drop anyone is, but, like, okay, with the drama between, like, the women, like, were there times that maybe, like, you were involved into a drama where they kind of, you know, made some rumors about you or brought your name up, or they try to say, hey, like, you know, Zeltzin, like, oh, I hate this such and such, but then you still see them, like, you know, smiling each other's faces and all. Like, was your experience, or?
No, it's not my specific experience, but it's definitely something I see. Because, again, I try to keep to myself for the most part. Again, I do have my friend group that I have.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty similar. Like, we just try to keep to ourselves. But it's very obvious when there's drama going on, because we can see it. And there's just, like, this weird, like, animosity. It's kind of like almost like a tension. So you can feel it, like, like, even if it's not about me specifically, you could feel the tension, like, you know. And it's just like, it's just a lot. I think it's just a lot of competition for the most part, which, again, I feel like on one hand it makes sense, because we're all going into the same field and we all want to have, like, a successful business, or just be successful in the field. But I feel like at the same time it's like, like, if we're going into this field, like, we're going in to help people, so we should help each other as well, because that's where it's going to start. Because if not, we kind of tend to take that drama into, like, the spa room or the wax room with the client, and then it's not, I feel like it's almost harder to help them, because you're over here like, like, what are they saying about me while I'm not there? And again, not that that's me specifically or, like, how I feel, but I feel like a lot of the times it just affects the whole, almost like the work environment. So like I haven't had anything specific at school. At least when I worked at Sephora, it was a lot different because it was work. So I had the opportunity to be one of the managers there, and there was like jealous comments made because I had come in from a completely different field into Sephora, whereas a lot of people get promoted within the company. So I was called, like, I was an external hire, not an internal hire. So with that, like, some people felt like, oh, I wasn't gonna be able to perform well or whatever because I hadn't been there before. But it was, I mean, either way, regardless of that, it was a really good experience because I got to learn a lot. I had a lot of training. I made a lot of really, really good friends and connections there as well.
Okay. So people have, like, you know, try to doubt your ability to do something because you wasn't hired within the company itself. Okay. And those times that you felt, was it sort of something that you felt, or was it told? That,
no, it was told.
Like blatantly towards you, or was just like, oh, like, you know, like he said, she said type of stuff? Well, in this case, she said.
One time it was told directly to me, and then there was a lot of he said, she said, but that's, I feel like, weirdly in both senses, like in both school and when I worked there, that was a lot of, most of the drama was a he said, she said situation. And I almost feel like that's worse. Like if you tell me directly, then we can kind of hash out the problem. But if it's like a he said, she said, it's like you don't know where it's starting and you don't know where it's going to end or how it's going to end. So I feel like, yeah, it was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I get you. I mean, unfortunately, like, you know, in this YouTube space, you'll think like, you know, YouTube is YouTube, but there's a lot of competition that involves into it because you're dealing with a lot of relationships. So there's been times where, you know, we network with a lot of people. We network with people with all different type of backgrounds, whether if you're a cursaholic, alcoholic, whatever, whether if, you know, you did certain things in type of life, like we just network with whoever. However, you know, backlash that we'll probably face is that sometimes maybe one person don't like you know, one person don't like that person. But we're not here to, like, you know, cater to no one's feelings. We're just here to do business and to interact and to continue to build.
Right.
So there's certain, and then of course we have our own ideologies as well too, because although like this is not like a manosphere type of channel or a feminist type of channel, type of network, we just talk about whoever, you know, and we have like pretty much our own type of space that we have our own views that people will not really respect, or people will take to a high offense, and we don't care. We just say whatever that other people will say, and we just kind of vocalize on that part. So we go through the you know, similar type of experience too, where this person said this or that person said that, or some people would directly call us and be like, well, you know what, this is how I feel about your channel, and you know, I don't rock with you like that, and you know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So, but okay. The other question I have is, now, how long would it take for you to finish school and to also get your degree or license? Well, in this case, your license to be an esthetician.
Well, I'm only going to school part-time because I do work. So I have maybe 3 months left. It's not a very long program. The program itself is only 600 hours, but you kind of go at your own pace. So I'm hoping to be done by no later than the end of January, is what I'm hoping for. And then after that, you just make an appointment with the state board of the esthetician board through the state of California. And they give you the license right there, and then if you passed, like they take the picture that day, they print it for you, and they said, here's your license.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very quick process. Again, I'm just taking my time with it because I do work.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's a trade school is what that falls under, is a trade. So yeah.
Okay. A trade school. All right. Well, that's good. So let me see. So since you was doing this part time, how long have you been going to school part time?
I've been going now 5 months.
5 months. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then by January you'll be finished.
I'm shooting for January, yeah, because I do want to finish as fast as I possibly can, so I can get my license and start working on what I actually want to do.
Okay, so maybe I'm thinking, I'm just trying to do the math in my head. So probably if you was doing it full time, do you think, and for 600 hours, do you think maybe you probably would have been finished like within 3 to 4 months?
Yes, actually, that's what they tell us is if you go full time, which is, I believe, an 8-hour day from Monday through Saturday, you would be done in 3 months. And it goes by really quickly. We learn everything manually in the first 6 weeks. So we have one teacher for 6 weeks, and we learn everything. We learn the facials, the back treatments, the waxing. We learn all of that in like a month and a half, and then after that you start taking clients at the school, and you just keep bumping up your hours until you're done with the program.
Okay. I was gonna say, all right, that seems definitely like legit. I'm thinking, okay, full time 3 months. So to prepare yourself right for, we call it, for the state board program of esthetician, like with everything that you're doing part time, is it helpful for you to kind of like retain the information that's provided from like your school? Because I know if you was doing it full time at 8 hours, like you're getting everything all at one, but you're doing things part time, and then once you take the state board test, which I don't know, like how easy or how hard it would be. Do you have like some type of idea like how like the test will kind of turn out?
From what I've heard is it's not a very difficult test. I believe there's only 100 questions on there or something like that.
Yeah.
And one day of the week, which is our Mondays, we have theory class. So that's where we cover, because we have books. I think we have 12 books that we go through the entire time we're in school, and they're part of our what's called our school kit. So we have them, we can bring them into school and read through them. And every morning before we do practical, we have an hour of theory. So in the morning, our teacher will cover anything from the books. Like this week, we're covering like waxing as an example. And we have to, know the technical term for waxing. We have to know, all about disinfection and sanitation. We have to know about possible diseases and contraindications. So like things that would prevent us from performing a wax on a client. And for the most part, from what I'm seeing, is if you wouldn't do a specific facial on a client, you wouldn't do a waxing. Mostly for, you don't want to spread whatever you see on the client just to be safe. You would just say, hey, we would not be able to do this. You can offer something else, like maybe like a hand and arm massage or something. Yeah. But there are certain things that would prevent you from doing a service. But for the most part, it is pretty, at least to me, it's been pretty straightforward. But again, I've kind of been learning about skincare for years now, so to me it's a little easier.
Yeah.
And since I worked at Sephora, we got a lot of training as far as like skincare as well, because we have to be able to sell whatever product. So we did get a lot of training on,
Okay.
you know, what things would help, and so a lot of it is also like I already have some background knowledge on things. But yeah, to my knowledge, the test is not super hard. We do take weekly tests as well that apparently mimic old tests from the state board. And I mean, I've been doing pretty well on them, so I think it should be okay for the state board. It's still a little scary because it's like, oh, it's like a license.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a little easier than, let's say, when I took a test in college, for sure.
Okay. I mean, so basically, like, I feel like because of your experience and your knowledge, as you said, like, although it can be a little kind of give a little bit of anxiety, but at the same time, it's like I think like it'd probably be easy for you because you've already are doing it. You know what I mean? So we have that type of experience that stays within your memory, pretty much.
Yes.
It's just all like how like the test is being presented because especially if it's multi-choice, they may word things in a certain type of way. Just like people who know how to drive, let's say I'm taking my CDL for a DMV. I know everything as far as pre-tripping like a bus or truck or whatever. But however, if I'm taking a test and you're wording things in a certain type of language that I don't understand, it could be easy to kind of like have some like mistakes.
Yes.
But I'm not saying that's going to be for your part. I'm not putting that on you, but I get you.
Yeah. And it's very similar. Like it is a multiple choice test. I believe they used to do a practical, but I don't think they're doing that anymore. I think because of COVID, they were like, oh, just the written test is fine.
Yeah.
But we do practical tests at school where they test us like, okay, you need to show the teacher that you can do this specific facial, that you can do this specific wax, that you can do this other specific thing, and they check that we sanitize everything correctly, of course. So they really try to teach us more about procedure for sure, because if you know how to do a procedure, then you can change. You can change the facial later on, but you have to know the proper procedure from beginning to the end so you are consistent.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
All right. So before I continue on, I have to give a couple of shouts because there are some people that's giving you some support. So I want to make sure that I don't forget. Okay, let me see. So I want to give a shout out to Truth is Never Favorite. Salute to you, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Marion says, looking for a creative new holiday gift idea. She is very good at her passion. Holidays are coming. Put sweaters backs on the racks. Get your loved one a skincare treatment package with Zeltzin. Yes, definitely, for sure. And we're going to be talking about social plugs in a minute. And then shout outs to Marcus. So salute to you, Marcus. Also, happy belated Veterans Day. I know you are a soldier, so I want to definitely give you my warm salutes to you. Thank you for serving our country, brother. So I ain't got my hat, but if I did, hats off will definitely be for you. And then shout outs to OG Patrice. Thank you for tuning in, OG Patrice. I think you have a show coming up. I think you have a show coming up this Sunday. Let me know. And then also, Marion says, let's see, hey Marcus, welcome and happy Saturday. This is Zeltzin. She is a student esthetician with approximately 3 months of training to go. Excuse me. And then, also, I also have to play this for my dear lady, okay? When the rain and the thunder comes down and it's showering and pouring, we also have to give a shout out to Mr. She Stole My Thunder. So, hey. She says, hi. And she says, just sneaking in through the back. Got beer and popcorn for everyone. Just help yourself, folks. That is Canada's finest. She stole my thunder. So always warm, thank you for tuning in and shout outs because, when the raindrops falls, that's when She's Thunder comes in. All right. Now, the next question would be, oh, okay. This one's a little bit wordy, so give me about a minute. Oh, so where would you think your life would be if being an esthetician was no longer your passion?
I think I would definitely have stayed a teacher for sure. I definitely would have pursued that. Because again, it's not that I don't hate it. Even now I'm working as a teacher and I do love it. I do, but it's not like I don't see myself there more than 2-3 years max, maybe, if I really needed to stay there. It's just a completely different, situation. I feel like it's almost a little emotionally more taxing. But yeah, I think I definitely would have stayed a teacher had I not pursued my my career in being an esthetician for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least like there's like two fields that like if being an esthetician was something that one day you were no longer passionate about, then you have being a teacher, which is something that you're already doing right now, like for your students. So and that's good. Either way, the sky's the limit. Means that you don't really have to limit yourself to one thing, but if that's what you're currently passionate on, hey, stick to it, perfect your craft, and enjoy. She Stole My Thunder says, who me? Canada's finest? Blushes, please no. I'm too Canadian to accept such a compliment. I'll accept Canada's citizen though. No, you're Canadian's finest, all right? So I'm sorry. That's your title. You got to stick with it, And Katie says, welcome. She Stole My Thunder. And she says, how are you? All right. Now, oh, okay. So in this one, Zeltzin, if you want to, promote like your social media for people to follow you, if you have a website, or do you have any other people, it could be friends or family that you wish to kind of personally shout out, feel free to do so now.
I do have a professional Instagram that I'm working on. It's at Vanities. But it's at VANITIEZ with an underscore at the end. So that's where I post all the work that I've done, at least with makeup. I don't really post about the facials, but I'll post products. If people are ever interested in products, they can also direct message me or just follow and see the content as well.
Okay. And also, I do have like your IG also under the description too. So for people who wish to follow you, just remember, check out under the description. You'll see her IG. And if you have any questions, please, respectfully ask her questions that is more related to skincare or any other products that you have in mind. Okay, nothing personal. And K-Man says, let's get the likes up. Viewers and chatters, please subscribe to the channel. New viewers, if you like, so you could like. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading it wrong. New viewers, so leave a comment letting Zeltzin know you are here watching in support. And then She Stole My Thunder says, have multiple streams going. Ain't nothing wrong with being a teacher and esthetician, but that will be me though. Okay. And K-Man says, follow Zeltzin's makeup and products here at how do I pronounce it again, Zeltzin?
Vanities.
Vanities. Okay. So that's just her IG handle. So feel free to please follow her. And okay. Also, now we're gonna get to the relationship questions, but do you have any questions that you have in mind before we jump to relationship topics?
No, not at the moment, no.
Okay. Oh, actually, there was one thing I forgot to ask. Do you have any products that you want to show on camera that you have with you right now, or?
I have a few.
Mhm.
So one thing that I've noticed in skincare is people's biggest concerns is hyperpigmentation, which is just
Mhm.
like if you have acne and you've picked at it, sometimes you get a scar. Scar might go away, scar might not go away. Or sunspots, just any kind of darkness on the skin that you're like, and it's not like a beauty mark or something like that.
Mhm.
One thing that I have sworn by to people is actually this product. I don't know if you can see it. It's a serum by the brand called Totally.
I'm gonna zoom in if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, it's like
Mhm.
this. It's called the Vino Perfect Serum from Totally. You can tell it's like halfway done because I use it a lot. It will get rid of acne scars in like a week. If I use it 3 days a week, it'll be gone instantly. It's derived of like olive squalene. It's a more natural product for sure. You could find it anywhere. You can find it at Sephora. You can find it online. It is a little on the pricier side. I want to say it's almost $80, but it's worth it. And if you have a little more sensitive skin like I do, this is amazing. Most people will recommend like a vitamin C, but I'm allergic to vitamin C, so I
Oh,
found this, and this is way better. Keeps the skin really hydrated too, especially now in the winter months. So that's probably one of my favorite products that I've ever been able to find. Like, yes, it's up there in price range, but it's really, really good product for
okay.
sure.
I mean, where there's quality, it does come with a price. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but I did not know you was allergic to vitamin C. Does that mean that you're allergic to oranges and other food related products?
To a certain extent, so like if I have an orange, I cannot peel an orange because even
Mhm.
if I wash my hands, I touch my face, I'll start getting like a rash on my face from it. I can
Oh.
eat them, just
Mhm.
can't get it on my face for whatever reason. My face is a little more sensitive, so if I use a vitamin C serum, not the best for me. Vitamin C serum is really good,
Mhm.
but if you're a little more sensitive, I would recommend the other serum I mentioned. Or if vitamin C can also leave you a little sensitive to sunlight, so you have to wear a lot more sunscreen than you would if you were not to use
Mm.
one. Just it'll just irritate your skin a little bit with the sun. So, which this will not do because it's not vitamin C. It's made from it's called squalene, so it's derived from olives, and there's like a patented other ingredient in there that's I believe derived from grapes.
Mm. Mhm.
So it's a French product, but it works really well. So
Wow.
this will hydrate you and it'll do help with the hyperpigmentation. I had a client when I worked at Sephora. I gave her a sample of it and she came back a week later. She bought it because she was like, I had scars last
Mhm.
week and they're gone. And I was like, yeah, her skin looked amazing for like a week after that. So she went and bought it.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's something good to know for people who have who are allergic to like vitamin C products. Like that product she showed, like that's definitely going to be the one that she recommends for you guys to use for your skin. Makes me wonder, maybe because I know like isn't like most like products that does have most like foods like say for instance that has vitamin Z, does it has like more like the citric acid part to it?
Yeah, it would be a little bit more of like citric acid, but you can get
Mm-hmm.
vitamin C from different things. You can get them
Mm-hmm.
from oranges. I want to say you can also get it from cherries, which is one that I didn't know you could get it from.
Oh.
So I think it's cherries, but I might be wrong. But I have seen it come from some like one of those type of fruits, like a type of berry or something. Um, there's just certain products that ingredients you can get from anywhere. Like I am also a little sensitive to squalene, but if it's derived from aloe vera, I cannot use it. This one is derived from olive, and I can use it. So it just kind of depends, and everybody's skin is different. So if it works for you, it works for you. But there's things that
Mm-hmm.
I've tried that do not work for me, and again, my skin is a little more sensitive. kind of break out or get like a little bit of redness from almost anything. So I have to be a lot more careful in what I use. But with that, for me, it's kind of been a little bit of a plus side because I've really had to look at ingredients and what works. So I always have like 4 or 5 different things that I can kind of cycle through in case something stops working for me. And that's how I'm even able to recommend things to people that work or that may not, like that would work for depending on the need you have, because I've done a lot of research for it.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so all right, so now we're gonna be talking about the relationship topics, which is not really many, but like let me ask you this: what's your views on relationships, such as friendships, dating, and marriage? And there's a follow-up question to that.
I mean, for me, how do I say it? I'm not like super social, but I'm not like antisocial. I definitely don't have a lot of friends. I'm more about quality than quantity. Like because I can get along with almost anybody. So I just value friendships based off of like what we can kind of do for each other. Like it should be balanced. So, but I do have like, you know, like a group of friends that I always go back to as well. So, I just feel like, you know, like whether it's like in dating or in friendships, it's like just build like a really good connection. And I think as long as people have their boundaries and they're respected and really good communication, like any relationship will be fine. Like again, whether it's like marriage, dating, or friendships, it's kind of what I've had to learn in my relationships with the people around me. So
okay. Now for the ones who's like not too social with people, but there's always like a select few. What makes you does it seem like does it come off like as like maybe being guarded when it comes like when you're not trying to be too social with people, or do you have some type of social anxiety?
I don't. I just am very like I'll go out with people, and if someone comes and says hi to me, I'll say hi. But that doesn't mean I will be friends with just, I guess, anybody, if that makes sense. Like I could be social, but I value the connections I have made. So it's like I almost kind of want to compare it to like kind of like a video game. Like you have not unlocked this level. Like you're on level 1 and this person's on level like 60. So it's like I'm not gonna give you the privilege of someone that has put in the time if I just met you. So it's more like that. I think I have been told that it comes off like I don't want to be there when I don't want to be social. But there is times where like, you know, like I'm very straightforward. Like if I want to do something, I'll do it, and if I don't want to do it, I'm just not gonna do it. So if I want to be there, you know, I'll be there. Like, and you know, there's been times where like I've gone to events and like that comment's been made, and it's like, no, I want to be here, but I'm also really tired. You know, like sometimes I go to events like after work, and it's like, well, I just came from having to be at school for 4 hours and then working with preschoolers for 5 hours. Like that's you know, it's very tiring. So it's like I'm not going to be super energetic at the end of the day. But it's like I still want to be there, you know. That's why I make the effort to go.
I get you.
Yeah, so but I do think sometimes it can come off a little guarded, which is something I'm kind of trying to work on a little bit.
Well see, the thing is that like, and the reason why like I'm digging more into like the friendship section, because I feel like that. Well, I'll say what I think. I think that as you mentioned, like there's levels, like you know, like a level 1 to a person that's like level, you know, 60, you know, in your friendship circle. Of course, no one's gonna be super open to someone that they just met. Maybe there's like a few, you know what I mean, but not like a whole lot of people. And honestly, I want to dig into that because a lot of times what I usually hear in the space, I hear dating a lot, I hear marriage a lot, but when it comes to the friendships, I don't really hear that so often. And if they talk about friends, ooh, excuse me, if they talk about friendship, let's say like a guy trying to be a woman's friend. Now the guy's like, in a friend zone, or they look at it like, oh, man, it's a bad thing. Why you're being friends with this person? People believe that men and women should not be friends, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally beg to differ. But well, let me ask you this, and this is just people in general. What are, because everybody has some type of expectation, whether they fully know it or not. What is like your expectation, or what opens your heart to advance this person to the next level?
I think it depends. It's kind of like I have to see the effort a little bit. Well, a lot. Like, oh, are you going to be invested in the friendship? Like, if I do, like if I hurt your feelings, are you going to hold it against me like forever, or are we going to talk about it, hash things out, and fix the problem? It's like I have to see some type of like effort. Like not just like, oh yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
cool, whatever. Like, it's like that's what I think. At least
Mm-hmm.
in my friendships, it's like, I made a lot, like as an example, like I made a lot of friends working at Sephora, and but there was very few that I really, really connected with, and in the way that it was like, hey, like, like we still talk. I haven't worked there for maybe 6-7 months now, and like there's some of the friends that I made I still talk to, because it's like, hey, like we really connected, we made the effort to see each other, and still be there for each other, when we're like having a hard time with like work or like personal stuff. Like that's kind of what I say unlocks the next level, like in a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should be an effort on both parts, not just one, and it should be like on some form equal. Like I know things happen, and people are not perfect, and you can't always be there for someone 100%, but they're like, I think as long as you see the effort in each other to like try to be there, that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, I think, what will move you to the next level in any relationship.
Gotcha. Okay. And now, hold on, I gotta give a shout outs to Ghost. So thank you for tuning in on the. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Thank you for tuning in on the Twitch side. All right. Now, do you also believe that Well, let me ask you this. Do you have any male friends? I'll ask you that.
Um, uh, Not necessarily, but honestly, I don't have like a lot of friends in general. Like I have like a handful of friends.
Okay.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Um, do you believe that men and women can be friends or should be friends? Like, what you think?
I think they can. I mean, again, it's just with relationships, I think it's just about the clear boundaries. Like, make it clear that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we are friends. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's mostly society has made it this weird thing. Like, oh, if a guy and a girl are friends, they're probably going to end up getting involved romantically. And I feel like that's, like, I've had guy friends in the past that we've just stayed friends. And I'm like, oh, cool, you're like my friend. Like, that's it. Like, but we made it clear that we were just friends. And it was like, we were there for each other as friends. But I do feel like a lot of that not being able to be friends is definitely like a society thing. Like there's just like this pressure. Like, oh, if you're like, for example, for women, it's like if you're not married by a certain age, like you've kind of fallen behind, which I'm like, that's not true. Like women don't have to have even the desire to get married or have a relationship. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like it's up to the individual,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think as far as like men and women being friends, I think they could. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've seen people be friends, like men and women be friends, and it'd be like fine, but a lot of the times I have seen people pressure like, oh, like you guys are really close friends, it must mean that you guys like each other or something. They're like, no, we're just friends. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. So it's, yeah, I feel like I almost see it as like you have like other brothers, like, you know, like for me, I call, like, as an example, like I call my best friend, she's like my sister.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, so in that sense, if I had a guy friend that I was really, really close to, would be like, oh, he's like my brother. You know. But then, like you said, it's like, I feel like that's where people think, oh, so he's friend zone, but it's like, no, because you don't know, like maybe he's okay with the fact that we're just friends too. You know, there's yeah.
I like how you put it, because society does put so much pressure into it, but then they also put so much shame if one of them initiates to say, well, look, I like you like a brother or sister, but I don't want to pursue it any further. Or maybe right now, just at the moment, I'm not looking to be in a relationship. I'm just looking for someone to talk to and someone to be friends with. And that's where society kind of strokes the ego a little bit and tells you, well, dang, you must be a loser, you know, because I know you find some type of attraction, and it is a thing. There's nothing wrong if, let's just say, if you or some other guy had some type of attraction, but you guys still remain as friends because you guys know your boundaries and all. There's still nothing wrong with it, but like I said, society will put the pressure that, oh, you need to date, or you like this person because now you're always hanging out with them. No, it's just like there's sometimes people have a need to still socialize while, whether you're at work or at school. People, look, I'm gonna put it like this: nobody want to just sit there and just be bored. You know, there's a lot of people on this earth that you need to talk to, build connections, and learn from. Which, in my follow-up question, do you think relationships play an important role for everyday life?
Definitely, for sure. Like whether it's for work, networking, that's relationships, you know. And or like even personally, it's like, you know, everyone has someone they talk to every day, whether it's like their mom, like their sibling, their best friend. Like I think they're definitely important, because without relationships, you kind of be by yourself. You know, and even if it's just like one person, it's kind of like, oh, you know, at least we're there for each other. You know, like a lot of the times I feel like in friendships, it's like, oh, like we're not friends unless you do something for me. But it's like a lot of times you don't have to do something for someone. You can just kind of sit there and listen and just let them know that you're there to listen, you know, because you won't have the answers to everything if someone is having issues, you know. But I think in that sense, relationships are important, that they just don't make you feel so alone, you know. So, but again, it just goes deeper than that. It's like you have relationships at work where you're networking, where you have like, whether you know it or not, like maybe you said hi to someone at the grocery store, that's technically a relationship, because you were kind of like, oh, hey, let me help you, I don't know, get your stuff to your car, you know. It's not like a deep relationship, but you've now connected with someone, you know, and you helped someone, and you maybe helped someone, they feel a little better just by helping them put their groceries in their car. So it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be super, super deep, but I think we put a lot of like emphasis on like the grind culture and kind of doing things on your own, when it's like, no, you need a support, like everyone needs a support system, you know. Like again, it doesn't have to be like 300 people, it doesn't have to be a lot of people, it could just be like 2 to 3 people that are there for you constantly. So
yeah. All right. No, that's definitely facts. Like in my experience, like my friendships, like, you know, with the opposite gender, you know, with women, like I honestly value the friendships I have with women more than just like with the friendships like with men. And the reason why I'll say this about personally for myself, even before marriage or after, especially before, like my friendship with women was very different. Like I didn't need to really search for like love or some type of like relationships with them. Like they were just cool to really talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the women that I interacted with, they was more open about their thoughts, their opinions, their personal lives. Whereas, like with men, I feel like the connection with men, and I'm not gonna say with most, but just the majority, like has to involve in probably like one thing, like sports or something. And because like I'm not the type of person that's heavily into sports, like that could be like a struggle to really to try to relate to connect with them,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're not really open minded, in a conversation. So sometimes, I mean, I like to talk about like, like deep stuff
Mm-hmm.
that whatever that just comes to my mind or whatever. I mean, I'm not heavily into like politics or whatever, but just whatever that just comes to my mind, like relationally. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, if and this could be anybody. If a person that's like really closed minded, it's hard for me to really try to pursue like a connection with that person because like, well, what else can I really talk about if I don't really know um that person all that well, to
Mm-hmm.
really engage, to study and have a conversation with. So um yeah, I don't know. It's just that's just what it was like, like in my lifetime.
Right, right. And I think too that's like kind of like how we're talking about like how like in skincare it's very disconnected between men and women. I think
Mm-hmm.
relationally is the same way. It's kind of like you don't expect men usually to be more emotional or more connected to the deeper parts. It's kind of very surface,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of expect women to do that part of it. But then when the roles are reversed and like a man is more emotional and a woman is more like straightforward or not as emotional, it's seen as almost like, oh, that's weird. Like why? Like or like almost seen as like there's something wrong, like there's a flaw.
Hmm.
And I feel like in that sense, I feel like that's where men and women can learn more about each other and it become more of a norm, like, oh, anyone could be, like emotional, like whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, like there's nothing wrong with like being in tune with your emotions. I feel like if anything that helps because then you have a clearer sense of those boundaries and what you do need in your relationships around you. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's how you avoid a lot of like those toxic relationships, whether it's in friendships or dating or marriage. It's like once you know what you need, then
Mm-hmm.
you can make those connections to get those needs fulfilled.
I get you. Yeah. And we definitely hear that like a lot in this YouTube space because we do have a lot of men that they express these things and like I said, I don't know if I don't know if you hear this like a lot on YouTube, but men will say, look, anytime I try to express my emotions, or now as men we have a space where we can actually talk about the things that hurt us on the inside, the things that we struggle with. There's women that will come into the space and then
Mm-hmm.
they'll still constantly tell us how wrong we are or how insensitive, or they'll be like, well, men did this to women while women did that to men. And then
Mm-hmm.
it just becomes an all out gender war
Right.
as opposed to just letting men, excuse me, hiccups, as opposed to letting men have their personal space in the community to talk about these issues. Because the thing is, men are not allowed to cry. Men are
Mm-hmm.
not allowed to tell a woman, what she's doing wrong without getting canceled. Um, Men has to be stoic. You can't show no emotion to it. If you if a woman is telling you, the biggest trap that what I've always heard the most is if a woman's telling a man that she wants a man to be emotional, she wants a man to cry out to her, she wants a man to let his guard down. And then when that man does that, then it's just something about a woman's instinct. It's just like it automatically turns her off as the man being weak. And
Right.
then next thing you know, you're hearing men and you're hearing the same woman that's telling you to be open. Now it's telling you to like, pull yourself together and man up.
Right.
So when that stuff happens, it's like, okay, well, this is why like a lot of like, things like as far as on the man's part, as I speak for them, this is why a lot of men, they just tend to shut down and they don't really say much.
Mm-hmm. I think with that, it just kind of depends on the topic. I think what I've learned in my friendships, or my really close friendships, it's like you can express how you're feeling, but for me, the way I can express myself is it can come off like I'm putting my emotions on that person. So then I have to kind of like check, like, okay, I can express myself, but I can't say like, oh, it's so and so's fault, or like that. But I feel like that's on both parts. We just have to express ourselves in a way that's not coming like you're pointing the finger, because at the end of the day, like, we all make our own decisions too. So it's like, but we do need validation as well. Like, hey, like, I just want you to validate or like acknowledge what I'm feeling. Like, that doesn't mean you have to agree. There's times I felt really hurt and someone's like, I don't feel like that's what I did, but I'm sorry I hurt you. That was not my intention. I feel like there's just like a way that a lot of people communicate that doesn't always connect, and I feel like that's where the issue comes, is where like just communication in general. I feel like with people it can be really difficult because everyone perceives things differently. So I feel like you just have to be like super clear and open. In my experience, at least, that's where it's gone the best. Like, as long as you're willing to be honest and clear about your intentions, but also what you were trying to say, that's where things have a better way of like working out or being heard, and like the best way that you can get help, if that makes sense.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
No, it does make sense. Let me read Ghost comment. I'm gonna read K Marion's. He says, "Man, I went on a picnic earlier this year where this girl spent 2 hours talking about her future and not needing men." Okay, so close-mindedness can't be overcome. Building a connection is only possible if you're willing to learn. Yeah, if you're willing to build a connection, you'll definitely will get there. But if you always think that you don't need that person or need that particular relationship, then you'll see the outcome of it.
Right.
And then came in and says, or she gets the sense of being too motherly, protective, want to help, heal, but seem as too protective. Sometimes the guy gets uncomfy, sharing deep emotions, communication breaks down, connection cuts. Okay. Now, where we're at. So let me go to some of the next questions. And we're almost finished with the questions, by the way. Just going to ask you a few more.
Sounds good, no problem.
And if you have a little bit of time, we could invite like some people to like come up to the panel, ask some personalized questions, and it won't be too long. But one of the questions is, where is it? All right, so here's the thing, right? I want to give this breakdown because this is a term that people had. Well, this is a term that was written in the Bible, and I kind of feel like people take it to the like way left. Mm-hmm. But my question is, should women be submissive to men?
I feel like that is something that has been taken really out of context. Okay. For sure. I think, at least, okay, biblically, the way that I've seen it's supposed to work is the man is the one that's supposed to be the leader in the household, right? That doesn't mean the wife has to do 100% everything he says, because it does say submit to your husband, in the eyes of God, you know, like at the end of the day, like whether you're married or not, like as a woman, God is supposed to be first. So if your husband is doing something that's not okay biblically, like you should not submit, you know, like I think people think it's like, oh, you have to do everything he says. It's like, no, to me, biblically or not, in a marriage, it should still be equal, like respect each other no matter what. Like if as the wife, I think if you let's say you have plans for the day, like I feel like that's where it's like you don't have to ask your husband for permission, but just let him know, like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, I'll be back later, you know. Like, and I feel like people take that as weird, but it's kind of like, wouldn't you like when you were younger, you would do that with your parents, like, hey mom, dad, I'm gonna go do this thing, I'll be back at some point, you know. It's not necessarily submitting, it's just like, I think it's more being considerate of the person's emotions or like how you're gonna affect them. And I think it's more about being balanced, but I don't think submissive is the way people think. I think people think it's very like you have to do everything your husband says, but again, it's like at the end of the day, biblically, you're supposed to put God first above everyone else, and that includes the husband. So it's like, you know, like if your husband as an extreme was like, oh, God put it in my heart to go and, I don't know, slap this person, like as the wife, you would probably be like, that's not good, that's not okay.
Yeah,
you know, that's like submitting would be like, yeah, I'll support you, when that's not a good thing to do. That would not be the case to do that with, and I think a lot of people take it almost to that extreme. So I think it's more of like being equal and being like, hey, we should lead together. And I think it's more about her being supportive and being there for the man, not necessarily, you know, being at his beck and call 24/7. I feel like people almost see submissive as a form of like, almost like not, I guess, like a job. Like you submit to your boss because this person is paying you to do a job.
Right.
You know, but it's like in a marriage, I don't think it should be that way. It should be very, very equal. Like, you know, that's what I think. But I do think people have taken it very extreme.
And see, and this is where like this is where people give like the pushback, right? Because like, and I'm glad that you mentioned that part, right? As far as like the boss that's paying like, you know, his employees, and they're being submissive. Because a lot of times the pushback that I would hear from a lot of men is that, well, if your boss is telling you to do this, he's not asking you, he's commanding you. And if you don't do it, there's consequences. Some managers are very rude and they just cut throat. They'll tell you, you do what you're told to do, or you'll get fired.
Right.
And I get that the incentive is that you're being paid. So, you know, if you disobey your boss, you're no longer get a paycheck because you're going to be fired.
Right.
But whereas your husband is like, he's not paying you to do anything. It's like, and if anything, he's more providing than what your boss are providing. But then yet the woman feels like, well, go make your own sandwich, or I don't have to, like, you know, obey you and all this. And so I want to prepare for those type of pushbacks because people will definitely try to contest that. You know what I mean, Zeltzin? So when men are comparing, be like, well, why can't you have that same energy for your husband as you have for your boss? What would be your response to that? And shout outs to Me Have a Donut, aka Ghost. He says, LLMT, if you stroke your beard any harder, you're gonna refine your jawline. Jokes aside, I'm here. Thank you for tuning in.
I feel like it's a hard question. Like, again, a job you can just, but also a job you can also just leave. Like, if the job is really not for you, you can find another job, and that's, I feel like, almost not as much of a serious commitment as marriage, you know. So it's kind of like, not like, again, not saying that as a wife you shouldn't do things for your husband, but it should come from like the heart because you want to do it. And I think a lot of times people do things for their spouse because they have to, because that's the expectation, you know. And it's like, they don't really want to do that sometimes, or they're like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to do that. But that doesn't, you know, like, again, I think as long as you're caring for the person that you're married to, and again, there's that mutual like support and love, and like that mutual like care and respect for each other, I think that's what people miss a lot. Like, it shouldn't be like a who's doing more, who's doing less kind of thing. It should be more, I always think it should be equal.
Yeah. Okay. So then, in other words, like, should the man submit to the woman, to his wife?
I mean, I think not necessarily. I don't think anyone should submit to anybody, because we are not, you know, like, for lack of a better word, like, we're not slaves. Like, we have choices. We are people and individuals. Like, we are free to, you know, come as go as we please. If you chose to marry this person, you have made a promise that you're going to be there, you know, whatever the vows say, like sickness and health, for richer, for poorer. Like, if you married this person, I assume it's because you know you can get through the really, really hard times and the really, really good times together. You know, so it's kind of like, if at the first sign of trouble you're ready to kind of like be like, oh, you know what, no, then maybe marriage was not for you. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's a question about being submissive, because to me, submissive is a very old-fashioned term. I almost think of like back in the day when, like, you know, like the woman like had to take care of the house, she had to make sure everything was perfect, and like she had to do what her, like, if her husband said no, you can't go to this party, then you could not go. Like back in like the 1800s type of times is what I think of. And I feel like that's a really outdated term. So I think with that, I feel like we almost have to kind of look at like, what would submissive look at in our times. I don't think it means, you know, if the wife or the husband says you can't do something, you can't do it. I think it's like, hey, like, I think it's more about like putting someone else's need like to the same level as yours, you know, because now you have someone else that depends on you. I almost like, not to the level like maybe like having a kid would be, but you know, like if you're choosing to live together and be married and those promises, it's like you can't just consider yourself anymore. There's someone else in the picture that you now have to consider. I feel like that's more what submissive means nowadays. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna keep acting like if I wasn't married, you know, like there's someone else you have to consider. So that's kind of what I think of it in modern terms, not so much as the old term of submission, because I feel like that's where people kind of get it confused. I think they think of submission as the old, back in the days, like 200, 300 years ago kind of situation, whereas now it's like, obviously it's completely different.
Yeah. Zeltzin, you might have to tilt your camera down. Yeah. Man, in fact, let's see. Let me change it to, tilt it down to look. There you go. Because I saw like where like your chin was getting like cut off. I was like, oh, yeah. All right. So let's see. QueBee says the assumed definition of submission acts like the two are always saying opposite ideas, but if their ideas were always the opposite, would they have lasted past first couple of days or weeks to begin with? So I think that was a question that she had for you.
And then, oh, go ahead.
Oh, and then she also says, would they depart at the first disagreement? The Bible says submit to one another in reference of Christ. Reference of Christ. I'm gonna go ahead.
I don't think necessarily, like, you know, there's that old saying like opposites attract. I've seen people that are very different work very well, you know, but I feel like, again, that's more because they balance each other out more than be an actual disagreement, you know, like And I think, you know, two people are never going to agree 100% with each other. But again, that's all why I keep saying the whole balance thing. It's like, are you able to balance each other out, you know, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, you know, whatever way, as a couple is what I think. You know, because like you're going to have disagreements in a marriage and you might not always agree, but I think it's also learning to compromise, you know? So it's like, okay, like we're not going to agree on X and Y, but like, is there somewhere in the middle we can, you know, have an agreement and say like, okay, so if you're going to do this, then I'm going to do this. Or if you think this way and I think this way, where are we going to meet in the middle so this confrontation doesn't keep going? Because I think like when there's no resolving of an issue, that's where I think the bitterness kind of keeps growing in a marriage or in any relationship, really, like even with friends. And then you're not gonna, like, that relationship is going to suffer. And it's going to be like, okay, well, remember that time that you didn't do X, Y, and Z, or that remember that time you didn't want to compromise, or like remember that time you just kept wanting to argue about whatever. And you're just going to keep adding to that issue, I think. And since it's never getting resolved, it's going to be like an open wound that's never really healed.
Okay. Well, before I give my response, shout out to you again, Marcus. Okay, you can feel free to plead the fifth on this one, but he asks, tell Zeltzin, what type of sandwiches or dishes do you cook?
I mean, it depends, like what I want to eat. A lot of the times I just look up a recipe and I'm like, okay, I'll cook that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go over that. It's an inside joke, so I know where Marcus is coming from, especially with those cooked sandwiches, though. But anyways, man says yes, well said. It has to be resolved. That's the submission part. It's problem solving. To me, this is what I look at. Okay. Like, I'm not even going to judge where it says like if it's outdated or not. I mean, yes, at the time, of course, when it was written in a certain type of language, such as like, you know, old-fashioned English, like Shakespeare and all. So every word is going to sound different, but it's also going to have a different meaning, a different intent to it. And so, and I said this before, to me, submission is cooperation. Meaning that, you know, you are cooperating in the relationship that you are in, and everybody has different roles. Men have different roles, women have different roles. Men cannot be women, women cannot be men. But there's some things that we could complement each other, and there's some things we could destroy each other. But on the complemental side, what can we do to help complement, you know, to build the strength for the woman, such as what can the woman do to complement us and build a strength for us? Now, people will say something otherwise, because men will also say, well, you know, if a man is providing protection, they also feel like women should not work. They feel like men should be the sole providers. Men should also work to provide the family, while women take care of the kids in the household. And they feel like if you were to go back into the old times of it, then modern relationships wouldn't be struggling.
Right. I mean, I think that's not entirely true. I think there's relationships nowadays that are probably very traditional in that like old type of sense, quote unquote, and they could still struggle, you know, like, because at the end of the day, it's based off each individual relationship. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. Like on the outside, they could seem like they're fine, but on the inside, it's like they might be struggling. Or the opposite, we could see from the outside a relationship that seems a little weird on the outside. Like maybe we always see them arguing, but maybe behind closed doors, they're actually really considerate of each other, or they're really, you know, like that's where they connect, and that's where they like try to like talk things out. So I think it just I think I think it depends, but I do agree where it's kind of like, again, like how is this person going to complement the other person? But I feel like even with that, it is down to the individual and voicing what you need so you can find that person that does complement you.
Okay. All right, I like that. That's well said. K-Man says everybody feels they are heard and understood, cooperative, and not a lose-win compromise, but everyone is heard and feels helped by the resolve.
Mm-hmm.
It is unhealthy when that is never accomplished. I definitely agree with you, K. Marion. So, all right. Well, then my other question is right. Besides the whole submission thing, and I think, like I said, I think everything you said is well said. Um, whereas, like, it could be outdated. Where like we could complement each other as well too to help build each other up. Um, like I said, I know like a lot of men is going to give a lot of pushback because you know we hear a lot that women want men to be traditional, but then they still want to be modern. And here's the thing: I understand if you want like a modern man and you're a modern woman, but if you want traditional men, you'll have to understand that you have to fall in line of being traditional yourself. So basically, if you want the men to kind of act like the men of the old times, just know the men's going to think of that old-fashioned time when it comes to submission. And if you're not ready for that, then maybe you should not get a traditional type of man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So the next question. Well, actually, hold on. Before I ask these last few questions, Zeltzin, are you still okay for me to bring people up if they're going to come up?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me do this. Let me send an invitation. All right, folks. So I'm going to post a link to you, and I'm only going to do this one time, right? So, please, be respectful when you guys come up. I also prefer too that most people, except for the ones that we work with, like Marcus and a few other people that we know, if you have not been on our panels before, you have to cam up. Okay, when you go in the backstage where nobody else can see you, I gotta make sure that you're cammed up. Use your cam to make sure you show from top to bottom because I want to make sure that there's not going to be any riffraff. Reason why I'm saying this, Zeltzin, because we had a few instances before where we'll just say like trolls. Trolls will come up and most of the guys will just do some wild type of stuff. So we want to make sure we keep this panel respectful as much as possible. So feel free to come up. Make sure when you guys do come up, ask questions that's relating to the topic of her being an esthetician. You can ask some relationship type of questions as well too. Marcus, if you want to come up, Mary, if you want to come up, feel free to come up. Coming up for Marcus is not required, but people who have not came up before, you guys gonna have to come up. Okay, that is a requirement. Okay, let's go multi-chat time. Yes, indeed. And I will give you guys a little bit of time to come up, right? Now, K-Man says Mr. MT is going to drop the link, which I already did. I just dropped the link, K-Marion. So, for women, what is like the one or several things you would like to know about men? If you have any questions about us.
I mean, I think it depends on the woman.
Okay.
I think it depends on the woman. Like, everyone's different. Everyone's gonna have different needs. Like, I think as long as you're willing to be respectful and, like, listen, to the woman's needs or to the partner's needs, I think that's where I think that's kind of what's more important. Just being able to listen, because again, every woman is different. I think for the most part, I think women just want to be listened to and not judged as far as their emotions, because since women tend to be the more emotional ones, I think that could be seen as like a stigma sometimes, like, oh, she's so emotional, like she's, always feeling whatever, and like I think men a lot of times can feel overwhelmed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the disconnect can happen. But I think again, that's where just communicate and like, hey, I need you to listen. I don't need you to, I don't need you to give me advice. I just need you to listen. Like, just let me rant, But I feel like that's again more individually. So, but I do, for the most part, I have heard that it's like, oh, we want men to like listen and be supportive, and be a good, like, just be a good friend, like within the relationship, or whether it's like a romantic relationship or just a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Okay. Marcus there had a question. He says, but as a woman, depending on what you say, and do men have a right to judge and talk? Actually, speaking of Marcus, I'll let him speak for himself. Um, okay, Marcus, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Salute to
Well,
you,
first,
Marcus.
salute and nice to meet you, Seltzen. You
Nice
might
to
hate
meet
me for
you.
this and the next few words that are coming out of my mouth, but as a man, real men know how to talk to, when women, uh, or sometimes us as men, we obviously have to make a very heavy cognitive dissident to make sure to
Mm-hmm.
listen to a woman and what she's saying. So when we're hearing a woman speak, obviously we're trying to understand a woman and see where she's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes some things that a woman says or explains certain actions she does, sometimes us as men, we got to call it out because we can't always let the woman vent. Because sometimes that
Mm-hmm.
could be destructive for her own behavior and her own well being.
Right.
And how when she's around, like, let's say, for example, you start talking about when you're around your friends and you did something to your friend or you said something that was maybe disrespectful or maybe some things got out of hand. And then you got to point it out. Well, listen, this is where you went wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes the whole, oh, listen just to listen, sometimes isn't always the best thing to do. Sometimes we got to, as the person that you love us, if you cared about us, you'll respect our input in what you're going through.
Right.
Do
And
you
I
agree with
agree. I
that?
mean, I do agree with that. I think, but in that sense, I feel like that is depending on the individual you're in a relationship or friendship with, like, because that's a boundary, like, kind of like how I was telling M3 earlier, like, I think there's levels to the friendships. So it's kind of like if you just met someone and they were like giving you advice on something really, really, really deep, you'd be like, well, you don't know me, for the most part. But I think I do agree. I think if you really care about that person, of course, give them that advice. Of course, tell them like, hey, I don't agree with what you're doing. I think that's really harmful to you, So in my experience though, I do know that you have to be careful when you say certain things because again, since people perceive things differently, it could cause more harm to the person or not. I'm not saying don't give that
Right.
advice, but I do think it's down depending to
Is
the
it, so you're
individual.
basically saying how you say it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you could say, like you can give whatever advice you want. It's just, again, I think that's more based on the specific relationship you're talking about. Like maybe you wouldn't get that level of advice to a coworker, but you would obviously do it with your best friend because they're your best friend, and you're like, hey, like that they know that you care about them, and that you like they might be mad at you in that moment for whatever you said because they might just be upset and they're like, no, like my feelings are hurt for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, they know you come from a good place. It's what I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
I get you. It's kind of like if it's a worker you're close with is one that you're not close with.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like I think anyone has the right to, like have an opinion on what their friends are doing. If, like if you think they're hurting themselves, it's like obviously, yeah, say something. You want to be there to help your friends. But it's, like everyone's going to have an opinion on something, on anything. And
can I ask you a side question?
Yeah.
Do you have that one friend in your group that tends to call out the bullshit with your other girlfriends?
I don't, but again, I don't have that many friends. I don't have that many friends. I have one really, really close friend that I have.
Right.
But me and her have been best friends for like 20 years. So
right. So throughout your 20 years, have you called out sometimes, hey, you're wrong about this, or has she called out on you about, hey, you're wrong about this?
Yeah, we do it all the time. But there is times where I have to be more careful. And, I can't just be like, girl, you being stupid. I can't, you also don't want to say that. You have to be like, hey, I don't agree.
Or you could say that's maybe not the smartest thing to do right at that moment. You could say it like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, whenever you give advice, I just think proceed with caution. Because again, people I think can always find a way to twist whatever you're saying. So it's just, like, hey, I don't agree with what you're doing. Obviously, it's your life, do whatever you want, but this is what I think. And I don't think you should do X, Y, and Z because of this, and this.
Okay, that's what's up. Okay, that's respectful at least. Yeah, shout out to Mr. Best though. Thank you for answering the questions. I'll let y'all continue your thing. You're muted.
I just realized that. Welcome, Mr. Intellectual SoapBox. Zeltzin, this is Intellectual SoapBox. He is National Relationships Network Manager. So I just want to let you know he is no stranger to here in this platform.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. Great to meet you.
Best cooking sandwiches?
No sandwich cooking today, Marcus.
I got you.
No sandwich cooking?
No
man.
Man, look, it's early, man. It's all about flat checks, man. You know what I mean? Breakfast in the afternoon.
I got you.
But yeah, I do have one other important question, and then I'm gonna let you guys rock real quick. Zeltzin, so one of my questions I want to ask you is that when you received our invitation to join Knowledge Relationships panel as a special guest, what was your first thought in mind about us, and why you decided to give Knowledge Relationships a chance?
I mean, to me, it just seemed like it was like a space to, like, again, provide knowledge. Where I feel like, even though they seem a little unrelated, I feel like we've kind of learned a lot about how, like, the world of aesthetics is ruled by society, the way I think relationships a lot of times can be ruled by society. Like, it's very like, what society says you can't do X, Y, and Z. I think it's the same in both worlds, and I feel like we don't always see how much society affects what we do in our day-to-day lives. So I feel like, I mean, that's kind of why what I thought when I first saw it. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your your open answer to it, and I definitely appreciate you for giving us a chance to feature you here like live, like as we're having this live talk. So thank you again so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, anytime.
Hey, man, I'm doing it.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Intellectual SoapBox, do you have any questions for Zeltzin?
Yes, I do, because I do say it says future esthetician. I don't even know what that is. No offense, I just don't even know what that is. And I usually kind of know what things are, so that's why it kind of got me like, what is an esthetician? So if you don't mind explaining that, salute to everybody in chat. See QueBee in there. Salute to you, Marcus. What's up? But yeah, I just wanted to ask that family, what is a future esthetician, if you don't mind explaining. You probably would explain this already, but
So we're pretty much called like the skincare experts or the skin experts. We do treatments for skin, we do makeup, facials, body treatments. I almost think of it as like the take care of yourself experts. You know, you kind of go relax there, get a treatment. You know, we help people feel more confident about themselves. Like with something small, you would think it's small, but to them it's like a huge deal, and it just gives you a chance to, you know, help someone in a way that you would not think helps them. But yeah, it's pretty much like like someone that is doing beauty treatments in a sense, beauty and skincare treatments.
Okay. So it's like the beauty and self care field. Okay. Has that always been your passion, or was this something that you kind of got into throughout time, or have you like since a little kid you were just always into makeup, you was always into that type of stuff? So
No, honestly, growing up, I was not into any of that. I was very like what's the point? But then as I started getting older, it is something that I got more into. So I've been interested in the field for maybe the last almost decade. And it wasn't until recently that I decided, oh, I want to go get my license and make a career out of it. So yeah.
Okay. What were you passionate about before you were doing this? What were you like thinking about before that?
Before that, I wanted to be a high school teacher. Mostly because I felt like high school kids were one of the more neglected group of kids. I feel like we put a lot of resources into like the younger grades, like elementary, preschool, and I feel like not too much goes into the high school age. I feel like we expect high schoolers to, you know, like one day you're in high school asking for permission to go to the bathroom, and then 3 months later it's like you're in college paying taxes and bills. So it's kind of like, you know, I kind of wanted to go into that because I wanted to help kids. And right now I am teaching part-time at a preschool, just because it works with my school schedule. But that's what I used to kind of want to do before.
Kind of help them to bridge the gap between being a child and being an adult. I think that is a definite. That is super important, because a lot of times we don't think about that. We just think, like, okay, they'll be fine, or you know, their parents got them or whatever. But it's like, no, some of these kids, they fall by the wayside because they don't have anybody really there for them.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, they're very vulnerable at that age. You know, like even like not even just like emotionally or mentally, but even like financially. You know, that's where people get into a lot of debt is college. And it's kind of like, oh, you know, like I think kids that age just don't have someone to help them navigate that part of life, you know. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, but then I just I was just way more passionate about this field instead. So
got you. Okay. Do you use you know, for your field, do you have a really big social media presence? Are you kind of more like you like to kind of meet people kind of like hands on, or you kind of do a mixture of both?
I don't have a big social media presence yet. I mean, I'm hoping I can kind of grow it. I think though, as I've been in this field, it is really ruled by social media, like being in the beauty industry in general. But I think I'm definitely more of like an in-person person. I like to meet people in person. I'm not a big fan of, you know, the whole social media thing, just because there's a lot of I feel like there's just like a lot that can go wrong with social media, and it's a lot of work. Like I don't know how influencers do it, because I've seen it and I'm like, this is a lot that they have to constantly do. It's like they're working 24/7, and so I know that that's not for me. But yeah, I'm definitely more of like a people, like in-person person, not so much through social media.
Yeah, nowadays, if you're in any field, you kind of like, especially when it's coming to like meeting people, you kind of have to have a mixture of both. It's crazy because it's like some people are like, well, okay, if you do this, what does your IG look like? And you're like, well, it's like, I just I have the qualifications for it. Like I went to school for this, I did that. But some people don't respect it unless they see like that social media thing. It's kind of crazy. But
Right.
that's the way of the world nowadays. So yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get those blue check marks coming up,
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
the in-person thing. Just pass out a lot of cards, which I was telling like Zeltzin like earlier, Mr. Intellectual SoapBox, why I haven't changed my name to like from Oakland _artist 84 to like I don't know, knowledge relationships M3 or something like that, because I still have a lot of business cards, and there's like 1,000 of them that I need to pass out. So if I spend money on them, I'm gonna make sure that I get my money's worth. It has my Instagram handle on it, so anybody want to reach out to me, it is right there. So once I pass out all these cards and get rid of them, maybe I'm gonna start like making some new cards. Or hey, now these days you don't even really need to pass out cards too much, because you got everything you need within social media. So I would just advise Zeltzin, continue to start trying to build like your social media account and build it to where like you could easily like promote yourself, because there's a lot of people with a need that's gonna want to like get some skincare advice, that may want to buy some products. And I don't know, I mean, you don't really present yourself to be a shy individual when it comes to just being on camera. But let's say if you was like do something like an IG live or a YouTube channel, that's definitely a great way to bring a community of people in that's really into the same things that you're into as an esthetician. You have, like your small like core group. They could be the person that could kind of help like promote it. Those are just ideas I have for you. I'm not saying do it, but it just will be like a great idea to get your business started off, especially once you get your license.
Marcus, you had a question. Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask Zeltzin because one of my exes, she worked for like Mac and like Lancome. Are you planning on working there, or do you already work there with them? Because they're like cosmetic brands and stuff. But
I worked at Sephora for about 10 months, and I liked the work. I really enjoyed it. It was more the environment. I'm not a fan of drama, so and sadly, those specific in the cosmetic world, at least in specifically makeup world, it is a little more drama. So that's why I left, really. But I want to do more freelance makeup, so it would be more like
like private entrepreneurship.
Kind of, but like freelance makeup means you're doing like photographer. So like you would do like runways, so like things you see on like Fashion Week or stuff like that. That's kind of what I really want to do. I've done weddings, and I've done bridesmaids, special occasions. I've done stuff like that. It's fine. It's fun, but it's very cookie cutter. It's very similar, always usually the same type of look. Freelance makeup gives you a little more freedom. It's a lot more pay as well, and it's a lot less stressful.
Okay.
Now, you said that it was a drama environment. With what? When you say drama, what do you mean? Like, is it because it was so competitive? Is that what it was?
Are you talking about from
competition? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of competition. It's a women-led industry, so it's very
misogyny.
catty. Yeah, but for women kind of thing. So it's there's always like someone's always jealous of someone else. I mean, I find that in almost any field that I've worked in, really. Except now that I'm a teacher, that's probably the most drama-free thing I've done, and it's because there's 5-6 teachers and like more kids, and the most drama you have with kids is, I don't know, maybe they're just throwing a tantrum. You know, but yeah,
Gotcha.
in the makeup world, it can be very competitive. You know, like who's better than who has the right to talk about, you know, certain things and who doesn't. I've found even, you know, like with certain brands, it's like, oh, well, so and so is just making a brand to get money. They don't have any, you know, like training as far as like being in the makeup world, or like even a lot of people will rather an esthetician start a brand than a random celebrity, because for a lot of times people just start brands just to start them and get the money.
Gotcha. Interesting. So would you work for like would you be interested in working like on like special effects sets for like TV shows and movies and stuff? Would that count as freelance work for you in the industry?
Yeah, that actually would count. I think there's a girl at my school that does do that right now. And she's actually in school because someone wouldn't hire her because she didn't have her license. But she had years of experience in SF and special effects and makeup. And like she does like Hollywood productions, and they were like, you're not an esthetician, so we're not going to hire you for this specific project. So now she's getting her license. So it is something that I think would be cool. Special effects is a whole other field. I believe that's I think you do have to take classes to know how to do special effects, because that's a different form of makeup. I've done a few special effects like on Halloween just for fun kind of thing. But I would definitely.
So would you fall under like the costume makeup? Is that where you would probably fall under more, like or just facial like makeup?
My type of makeup would fall more under professional is what it's called. So and there's like a lot of things, because there's different branches within makeup. There's editorial, which is what you see at like on runways, where it's very simple. You might see like a crazy color on the eyes, but not more than that. And then there's professional, where you do makeup specifically for photography. That is a completely different form of makeup. It's a lot heavier in person, but on a camera, it looks way more natural. So there is a way to do makeup where it pops on camera, but not in person, I guess.
Okay.
And waxing is also included too, Marcus, like in the field. Well, especially the ones that you like to do, like, because I know you already told me that the least favorite is the facial part, which all this time I thought it was solely focused on the face and the skin, like around that area. But that could be anything: the legs, the arms, whatever pigmentation spots that you feel like they need care for.
Oh wow!
And here these people.
Yeah, we cover a lot in the esthetician world. Yeah, like M3 said, waxing. I was telling them earlier, we do it's this thing called the lamination of the eyebrows. You pretty much do a treatment where you do a perm for your eyebrows, but they'll stay in place for a month and a half. It's just, you know, kind of to tame the hair so it's not so coarse, maybe a little easier to just handle. But that's mostly something people do in the makeup world, just because if you want your eyebrow to be a certain shape, you need to be able to manipulate the hair to do what you want it to do. And then actually one that I didn't mention was permanent makeup, how people tattoo the eyeliner or they tattoo lipstick on, so you don't have to buy a product now. People
tattoo the lipstick?
Yeah, you can tattoo your lipstick. People get fake freckles tattooed as well. That falls under the esthetician world.
Wait a minute, I can get freckles?
Wait, I think I said it wrong. I mean, not tattoo the lipstick, but tattoo the lips, right?
Yeah, you tattoo your lips and it'll change the color of your lips. So some people don't want to keep buying lipstick. They'll tattoo them to be a little more pink or like red or whatever color they want.
Okay, I've seen like women that tattoo their eyes. I've seen women that tattoo their eyes before, right? Which I won't be honest with you, it looks kind of weird because you have to shave the eyebrow hair off. And then like you're tattooing it, and sometimes some of the women will tattoo their own selves, and they just don't look right. It just look like you just put a mark on.
Yeah. So with that, actually, there's a there's you can tattoo them, or there's a different way to do it now called microblading, where you do it like hair stroke by hair stroke, and it's expensive. It's like a $600-700 service. But it looks really good. It looks like eyebrow. Whereas when you tattoo them, you probably see that they look a little weird. They look like greenish blue, or it's just a line. Nowadays you can do microblading, and they'll do hair by hair in your eyebrow. So it's a lot more flattering than an actual.
I'm gonna get respectfully in my lips tattooed right there.
Yeah,
Marcus, you do that, no more sports for me.
I got you respectfully.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the women who do like the makeup to the point where it's like they're no longer like they look like a whole different person, like they don't even look like the same person? How do you feel about that? Do you think that that's appropriate? Do you think that they should look like themselves? Because everybody has a different theory on that. I mean, to the point where they're fooling people. Like, a guy, he sees a girl, he's like, oh man, she looked this way, and then she takes the makeup off and it's not the same person. How do you feel about that?
I mean, to me, makeup is an expression. Like, do your makeup however you want to do your makeup. You could do it natural. You could not wear makeup. There's people that are like, I don't like to wear makeup, but they have amazing skin, and that's what they focus on. I think, it's like, just like people do their makeup differently, however they want, because it's at the end of the day, it's your representation of yourself. So it's like, that's how you want the world to see you, and again, like, what I tell people is like, because for me personally, I don't like to look like a whole other person. Like, I still like to look like myself, but makeup isn't really supposed to change the way you look. It's supposed to enhance what's there, and that's how we practice it in a more professional sense. Kind of like how earlier I was saying, there's a specific way you have to do makeup for a camera, because you have to enhance what's there, but in person you look completely different than you do in camera. So, but again, in the professional makeup world, that's how we see it. It's like makeup should be done to enhance what's there, not to completely change it. But at the same time, there's culturally, like, as an example, one time I had a client at Sephora ask me, like, do you know how to do makeup for an Indian wedding? Because I believe she was getting married. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she showed me a picture, and I guess culturally for them, makeup seems to me, from what she was telling me, a little heavier for certain occasions. Like, she wanted really, really heavy, like to almost look like a completely different person.
Oh wow.
So it even comes down to it being like a cultural thing from my experience. Again, and from what she told me, I'm not saying that that's how it is for everybody, of her culture, but from what she was telling me and how she explained it to me, that's what she wanted, for that specific event. So it's, there's times I've seen people do their makeup and I'm like, why would you do that? But at the end of the day, it's like, maybe that's their personal preference. That's how they wanted to do it, because makeup is an art. It's a way that people can see, what can kind of get to know you a little bit. So it's like, again, like the way you see makeup, even in some magazines, you'd be like, why would they do that? But it's because it's art, like in, I don't know, maybe like you've seen a picture from Dior or Valentino or I don't know, like Versace, and you're like, why would you do the makeup like that? It's because it's art. It's not, an everyday consumer might not wear that, but it's for the sake of the picture, and like in maybe 100 years, someone will say that photo shoot was one of the most iconic photo shoots for whatever brand. And they'll break it down to like the full look, like from the hair to the makeup to the whatever they're wearing, everything.
I have one last question.
Okay.
Just to follow that up. So when men get upset, like they go on a date with a girl, right? And man, like every
wait,
they go on a date with a girl, right? And like, everything going cool, you know what I mean? They chilling now, the night is over, They go back, you know. I mean, she takes the makeup off. They you know, he's still on the couch, and she takes the makeup off. Then she comes back. He's like, "Oh, like should the
He
men be
put some
upset?
water in his face.
Or should the men be upset at this, or should they just be like, all right, whatever? Because like he at this point, like I've seen it. I've seen it where like on like these videos where it'd be this woman and like man, she like Flavor Flav, and then next moment, man, she looks like Cindy Crawford. So I'm just trying to figure out. Or Janet Jackson. That's more.
It's like Joanna
Janet
Man
Jackson.
meets a whole new
Yeah,
man.
yeah. It's like should men be upset about that, or should we just be like it's all good and just kind of just roll the punches?
I mean, I think that just depends because like at the end of the day, I can't tell you how to feel. Like if you walk in and you see one person and then you come back and she looks completely different, like I think being a little shocked is normal. Mm-hmm. But I think leading up to that, maybe there should be a conversation to be had about that. Like, hey, because maybe that's what she wants to look like all the time, like makeup super done where she looks really different. And if you don't like that, then maybe that's not a good relationship for you. So it's kind of like, if it's gonna be that, I guess if it's gonna become an issue, then talk about it and then go from there.
I think as a man, like, whoever that you're with, you should already know the person.
Yeah, without the makeup. Think so. Yeah.
Although I do have to say this though, because even what Have Me a Donut says, right, aka Ghost, basically what he's saying, like in this long version, to shorten it defeats the purpose when you're super caked up in makeup. Like no makeup should change like the base look of a person's features. Like you said, it's supposed to be meant to enhance the features that they already have. But if it alters the features, trying not to bit my tongue again. To me, I feel like that will be, in my personal opinion, a bit extreme, especially for the wedding photos. I don't want to see like a totally different person. That's not the person who I married. And
I think that's where, I think that isn't a society issue as well. Like, I think we have this standard of like maybe what beauty should look like. And I think women oftentimes, or people in general, try to mold themselves to that standard. And I think that's even where the whole, looking like a completely different person comes in. But that's where like for me, that's even what I like about being a makeup artist. It's like telling people like, hey, you don't have to wear that much makeup. You don't like, you just need a little bit here, a little bit there, and it'll, maybe cover that imperfection that you see, but you're still yourself. Like we've just enhanced what's there, because for me, again, I don't like to make people look completely different, because the way I see it is like, let's say I do makeup on someone that's getting married and they're like, wow, I like looking like this every day, like this on my wedding day. I wish I looked like that every day. Now that could become an insecurity for them, like, oh, well, I don't look like that, like every day, like what's wrong with me? So it's kind of like, I'd rather just do like almost like a here and there. Let's, like, what do you see? That's what I ask clients is, what do you see? What do you want me to focus on? And then we can go from there. So it's still you just enhanced, like unless the purpose, like let's say like you're doing a movie and it's like, no, this person should look completely different because that's the point of the movie, but that's for a completely different reason. It's not an everyday kind of situation. So I mean, in working at Sephora, I made it a point to like try, let's say, every foundation they had there, and I figured out a way to make all of the foundations we had at the store that I worked at to still look the way I wanted it to look for me. Whether it was a heavier formula or a very lightweight formula, I've made them work so they all look the same, no matter what brand it is. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They kind of are like, oh, this is heavy, well, we're gonna keep it heavy. Where you don't have to do that. You can use something that's of a heavier formula, still make it look natural on someone. So it's like, you just have to learn how to tweak it so it's not this drastic, crazy change.
Gotcha. Okay, real quick, Now the people in chat, I know you have like at least there's a total of 3 questions, and plus Marcus have a question too. I know you guys want to answer the questions, but Marcus, I'm going to let you ask your question real quick, and I know you had a song request, so I'll play that just for you.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, after your question, I'm gonna get to your questions, K Marion, and I'm gonna get to your questions too. Me have a donut. All right. Okay, Marcus, what's your question?
Yeah, so let's say for example, and I kind of need the music right now, the beat to set up the vibe, right? Let's say for example,
all right,
you go on a coffee date, right?
Oh, Lord.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, you say you have a coffee date, but she's wearing a mask of makeup, you know, and you find out you get home, and then next you know you say, hey, she put some water on, she might cook you a sandwich or not, and then she takes off the makeup. Sometimes you wearing that makeup would be a mask for hiding something else. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, she might say she's a Sagittarius, so that's why she wears makeup like that. She might, wear concealer because she's a Capricorn. Do you think in your field, because I hear sometimes when women dye their hair a different color, they might be going through a crisis. Do you think sometimes when women wear a certain amount of makeup, when they go out a little too much, too excessive, they're concealing something else, is what I'm trying to get at?
Possibly. I mean, again, I feel like that goes back to what I was saying. Like, I think society puts this pressure on people to look a certain way. So I think, like, as women, like, again, a lot of times people wear makeup because they're like, I want to look more attractive, and which is fair, that's your whoever's personal reason. But again, there's a way that you can do it so it's not like super extreme. Like, I think a lot of the times people will have, like, let's say, like, spots that they want to hide, and they'll try to cover the whole face instead of like, oh, you could just cover that one little area and it won't alter the appearance as much, but again, I think it could be that they're hiding something that they're more insecure about. For a lot of people it is like a literal mask to hide behind because they're insecure about how they look, possibly. But I think with that's where education is key, where it's like, hey, that's okay. Like, like for me, that's what I like. I had a client, she had really high cheekbones, so she would have like a natural shadow like right here, and her mom would tell her it was ugly, and she was like, you have to cover it.
Man.
Yeah,
what?
And you can't. And I remember she came in and she was like, well, how do I cover that? And I told her, you can't. That's your bone. That's your actual cheekbone. And I was like, I will tell you this, people pay thousands of dollars to have this type of bone structure. And she was like, oh, but she lit up so much after that, because she was like, I didn't know that. I think a lot of people hide because they don't have the education to maybe do something that would work for them better, if that makes sense. So like for her, she kept trying to cover it, but it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. There's just, that's just the way your body is quite literally made. You can't change that, really, unless you're gonna get surgery. But it was really sad, but at the same time, I think that's where, again, education comes in, and just like, learning to kind of tweak things to work for you in a way that is maybe more beneficial than just hiding, because I don't think people should wear makeup personally just to be like, oh, I want to look prettier, like, because it's like, what is beautiful? Like, everyone is going to see what may be beautiful to you might not be beautiful to someone else. So it's kind of like, again, that's why I tell people like, no, use makeup to enhance something, not to make yourself look like a completely different person.
Yeah, that's still kind of messed up though for the mother's part.
Yeah,
it was brutal. I was like, wow, I cannot believe her mom told her that.
She basically felt, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Let me get to these questions real quick. K Mary earlier, she asked, can you draw in makeup what you see? And she also says, like what she showed you in pictures, could you reproduce it like tattoo artists? I think what she's saying that salute Mr. Intellectual SoapBox. He said he has to go. Thank you for
Peace out, Mr. Best.
Hold on, let me fix. Oh, you know what? I think that view is pretty good. You want to keep it that view for now?
Yeah, we can keep it like that.
Okay. So where I was at. Yeah, so basically I think what she's trying to say is like, you know, like can you do the tattooing part?
I cannot. That is a completely different school. You have to like those are different classes you have to take. So I personally cannot do the permanent makeup situation. I don't think that would ever be something I would get into. That to me is a little more nerve-wracking because one mistake and there goes somebody's appearance. So it's like that to me that's a little more pressure than what I would currently be doing, because with regular everyday makeup you could just wash it off and, you know, start over. It's like a clean canvas every time you wash it off. So yeah, permanent makeup, that takes a lot more training. Like it's good money. You make a lot of money doing permanent makeup. But I don't think that one would be for me necessarily.
Yeah, because that mistake will definitely be crucial.
Yeah, way more crucial. You mess up somebody's eyebrows and that's no.
Especially like when you add the hairline into it. I look, I could kind of have my assumption that it's going to be very time consuming. So
yes, very. I think it's like a 4-hour session sometimes.
Oh God.
Yeah, you have to lay there like 4 hours.
And then Me Have Donut says, Zeltzin, do you think it's fair for men to call a woman a catfish when there's a massive difference between her with and without makeup?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, yes and no, because I think that's where I have to agree with M3. Like, if you're involved with someone, you should maybe have already known what they look like without makeup. Like, if it's that serious of a relationship, you know, it should be something that shouldn't really shock you anymore.
Oh, you mean like in the morning when they wake up with breakfast and stuff? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like, because I mean, realistic. Like, again, if it's a serious relationship, let's say you're like, oh, I might want to marry this person. Something definitely that has to be discussed beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because like when we was talking about like marriage, like, you know, there's this like, you know, Indian woman who wanted her pretty much her whole, like, you know, makeup to be double layered, as if she's gonna be looking like a new person. But the thing is that like, and somebody in the comments was asking, you know, was it fair already? Like, should you date a woman like that? My opinion is that you should already know what the person looks like without the makeup. You know, so you could kind of differentiate, should she even be caked up or not? A lot of times, I feel like if you meet someone that's caked up, layered up with makeup, for me personally, I'm a little picky. I can't really, like, you know, fall like some type of physical attraction until I see you with your makeup off. So I'm like, look, some of these women talking about, I got her to put this makeup, like, you like how I look with this makeup? I'm like, if you want to look like clown, you could, you know, like, but however, I prefer you without the makeup, so I can see if you have wrinkles on your skin, if you have any like freckles or whatever, so that way I can see the natural beauty of a person's face as opposed to the external parts that you're covering up. And then Me Have a Donut says, yeah, I was thinking more of like a first encounter, like Tinder profile picture versus the first face-to-face. I never really use like any social media apps like that, but I'll tell you this though. If you see a woman that has like a lot of makeup on and it's just all makeup, and you don't even know what a person look like without the makeup, there's no point for you to even try to pursue that. Because then you're gonna get disappointed once you take the makeup off.
Yeah. I think, and I think it's personal preference. Like, I mean, I've seen relationships where the guy's like, I don't care if you wear a lot of makeup, like, cool. Like, you know, there's men that are okay with it. There's men that are like, I don't want you to wear any makeup. But I think that's where, like, one, like it is a conversation to be had, because it's kind of like, okay, well, one, why is she doing it? You know, like, maybe there is an insecurity, maybe there's not, maybe that's just the way she wants to do it, because that's just because she feels like it, you know. And it's kind of like, you know, as I think everyone else around her, whether it's someone you're in a relationship with not or whatever, it's like, we gotta respect that, you know. At the end of the day, it's her face or whoever's face, and they can choose to do whatever with that makeup, you know. But yeah, I think that's, again, where it comes down to, like, individual conversations and what it is that is expected. What is that expectation? So.
Okay. Definitely well said. Well, I guess before, like, I know right now we're at the 2 hour and 33-minute mark, so we've been talking for like a good minute, and I definitely like it, you know, definitely enjoyed this wonderful conversation, Zeltzin. I know, like, you know, it's getting close to time, but I'm going to ask this though. Do you have any questions, like, you know, for us, Zeltzin, or Marcus? Do you have any questions that you'd like to add before we close out? Oh, and Zeltzin, you might be moving the camera down just a little bit.
I think maybe just where was she born and raised, and what kind of culture background she has. I think that's what, you know. And what's your zodiac sign?
I don't understand why people think the whole zodiac sign thing is like. I feel like that's like, it's so funny to me how much we've like.
I know it's a sarcastic joke, because for whatever reason.
Yeah, Mr. SoapBox, you'd be like, Zodiac killer.
No, we just do it just because out of comedic humor sometimes, because we want to obviously, like, a lot of people that, you know, I've talked to, I've been in these space conversations. One of the things that people like to throw up is what side of the moon did you were born on, or and what time was it, like the zodiac, or I'm lazy because I'm a Virgo or something like that. I don't know, like some weird stuff, but you know, it's just a little comedic humor. But you know, I just want to know, like, where were you born and raised, and what kind of cultural background you have and stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm Mexican, and I lived in the Bay Area. I mean, I'm from the Bay Area, so just that's kind of where I've just been my whole life. But yeah, so that's it. I feel like that's just me.
Oh, well, shout out to you. Shout out to the Bay Area. I grew up there too before I moved down south to California. So I was in San Jose. So shout out to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And shout outs to Texas Sun 25 on the Twitch side. So thank you for tuning in, brother. You know, shoot, I was gonna say something, and then okay, now I remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, with the shout out to Sheree B. Chicago, man, because she was like one of the main people, right? I'm calling her name out. She was one of the main people that was like, well, M3, like, you're supposed to know your zodiac signs and all that, and you know, it's very important to like know your you know, your it was something else beyond like the zodiac signs, because there's moon and it was some sort of stuff.
There's a lot,
like,
yeah.
And I'm like, look, man, like I don't. And some people be like, what's your spirit animal? I'm like, spirit animal? I ain't no animal. I don't know. Like, you know, maybe I got the inner beast in me or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, people are really heavily into these zodiac signs. So it always it always makes me laugh on the inside. Well, inside and out. So.
I mean, I respect it, because people that are into it are really into it. It's not my thing, but I've seen people that are
okay.
Really
Thank
into
God,
it,
a logical human being with us here on the panel. Another one. Let's go.
I just respect it. Like, whoever is into it, like, you know.
No, don't do it, Zeltzin. Don't do it. Don't be so politically correct. No.
I just feel like, to me, it's like, it's kind of like, maybe it's like the religion kind of thing, you know, like, practice whatever you want. It's that's between you and yourself. Like, I'm not into it, but if someone else is into it. Like, okay, like
I just know
why?
that,
To me,
hey,
it's
because
confusing.
we're both Mexicans, so I know my nana would say that's brujeria, which is like witchcraft. That's what she would say.
Yeah, my mom says that too, but
Right.
I'm just like, you know what? It is whatever people are into, they're into it. Unless it's like literal, like you're really putting curses on someone, I might be a little like, well, that's a little. Why are we doing that? But again,
Yeah.
that's still people's personal whatever. So
I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, no matter what, I respect, whatever y'all do. If y'all like, oh my gosh, like he's a Scorpio, I only date like Libras, or Libras and all that. Like, hey, date whoever you want to date, Pisces or whoever, even if they're feisty, I guess. I don't know. However y'all be saying that about them and us and all that, but do what you do. All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't want to like hold you up too long, like Zeltzin. If you don't mind, however, like maybe stay for like maybe 2 more minutes, like behind the scenes, while I close out. But other than that, this was definitely like a good live talk. And Marcus, thank you for coming up as well, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I'm gonna head out, but like I said, nice to meet you. It was a great interview, great show, and it's always cool to meet somebody else who's in the Bay Area that representing stuff. So, and saludos a tu familia.
Oh, thank you, gracias.
Then peace out, M3. Thank you for me up, man. Appreciate you. And shout out to Mr. Best.
All right, for sure. All right, salute to you, Marcus. All right. So, anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in to Knowledge and Relationships Live Talk here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. We're predominantly in YouTube space because we're trying to get the subscribers up there. So go to the description and follow Zeltzin on her IG. If you have any questions about makeup products, about her lifestyles as an esthetician, then this will be the right place to go ask her these questions. And if you need help on your skincare. Other than that, thank you for your support. And then please also, if you can, leave a like and subscribe if you're new. But please leave a comment after when the live stream is over. That way it could help build up the algorithm from YouTube, because YouTube loves it when there's multiple people that is commenting under the YouTube page after when the live streams are over. That's how you'll get the videos out there naturally through YouTube's algorithm. The more you like and the more you comment after the show. Not just within the chat, live chat, but also after the show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Zeltzin, do you have any last words before we close out?
No, thank you so much for having me and for letting me join the talk today with you guys.
No problem. Anytime. So thank you so much. Stick around behind the scenes as we close out. And thank you again, everyone, for tuning in to Knowledge and Relationships Live Talk. So now, trying to find the outro. There it is. All right. Peace out, everybody. Till next time. Later.
Knowledge and relationships.